Hi, my name's Jennifer. I work for Quality Meat Scotland, and this year we're working with the Royal Highland Education Trust, or RET, on their Year of Beef initiative. And today we want to show you how you can be confident in cooking with meat in the classroom. Now, you may think that cooking with meat surely is something simple if you're in a secondary school home economics department, for example. But what about those of you in primary schools? Things will become a little bit more difficult. You don't have a ready-made classroom for the job. However, what we want to show you is just with some basic equipment, you can actually cook in the classroom, and you can even cook with meat. We know many of you have tried baking or different activities, but sometimes cooking with meat people are a little bit daunted by. However, again, with simple equipment, you can do it. I know many of you even have a mini kitchen on wheels that can be rolled about into the classrooms. So using equipment like that, or having a rake through the cupboards to see what the school actually does have, you may find it might be easier to cook than you think. It might just be that all you need is a few extra items to help you to cook. We're not expecting you to have a full-blown oven to be able to cook a roast dinner. We are talking about simple dishes to cook with meat. Showing children the importance of a healthy, balanced diet is a really key area and something that I'm really passionate about myself. And showing them how you can include red meat as part of a healthy, balanced diet is equally important. Most of you will have used the Eat Well guide in showing all the different food groups that exist, and meat comes under the protein group. So cooking a dish with meat is an important lifelong skill. The majority of us still do eat meat. We know there will be some in your classroom who choose not to, and you could choose to use an alternative for those in the class. But simple, quick, easy recipes is what we want to try and encourage children to get interested in and to be able to do as a lifelong skill. One of the recipes I regularly do when I come out to schools is Scotch beef fajitas. Probably because I like them, but also because they're super quick and really easy to do. Also, as I said, my passion is healthy nutrition, and fajitas are a great way to show children a recipe that includes all the food groups. Now, we're going to have a look-see here what I've got on the table to show you the equipment and the ingredients that we have, and to show you how simple this could be for you. A quick shopping trip, and again, as I've said, a rake about the cupboards to check what equipment you have will help you along the way. So, we'll look at the equipment first of all. Now, this is an induction hob, and these are one of the safest options for you to use. It will require you to have an induction ready pan, so another item perhaps for your shopping list, but they're very easy and accessible to find. This little induction hob actually comes from IKEA, but if you go around to the discount stores, you'll find them very often in the middle aisles, and you can pick them up for quite cheap. We want to, again, ensure that safety is foremost, so it's a really good option to choose one of these. And they're so portable as well, you can again move them around the classroom. As we said, we have our induction proof pan. A non-stick pan is probably one of your best purchases to have as well. We have our colour-coded chopping boards. Now, you might not have these in the classroom, but it is something good for you to perhaps look at using, and it's a really good teaching aid for children, because again, it looks at the food groups, but also brings in these areas of cross-contamination and risks that we want to try and avoid when in the kitchen or in the portable kitchen in the classroom. We've got simple utensils. We've got knives, large spoons, serving spoons, some scissors. You can also find safety knives, and the brilliant thing about this recipe is as well, we can do a lot of the things with our hands. So great if you're cooking with quite a younger age group. We have plates and bowls and a tray or a big chopping board here with all our ingredients on. It's great to have them displayed like this because this allows us to have everything at hand and ready. So in your perhaps say 20 minutes beforehand in preparation of these items, you can have something ready like this. That means all the washing is already done, and the main cutting perhaps you can already have achieved as well. So the recipe, as I said, that we're going to cook today is Scotch beef fajitas. If we have a wee look at our ingredients tray in front of us, as I said, recommend to have this semi-prepared before the children come in. That means you've done all the washing and the main preparation before it starts. So We've got a variety of fruits and vegetables here, and I love talking about this with children because look at the colours. And colours doesn't always mean just that it looks good and tastes good, but it means that it's nutritionally beneficial for us too. Even something simple as talking about peppers. All the 3 different colours of peppers means that you've got loads of vitamin C in there. Good question is to get them to find out which colour has the most vitamin C. I'll leave you to try and find that out for yourselves. We've got some iceberg lettuce, red onion, some lime, and if you want to extend this recipe a little bit further, I've also got ingredients to make a guacamole. However, that's something for you to talk about too. When we're talking about our meat, we want to talk about local produce. Guacamole, however, doesn't use a local produce. Avocados, unfortunately, aren't grown in this country. So that again is something for us to talk about food miles with the children. We've also got some spices, we've got some wraps. If you can, go for the whole grain wheat versions. And we've got some dairy produce, we've got yogurt and cheese. Again, alternatives can be used. And we've got some oil. The main star of our show is our rump steak, a Scotch beef rump steak. Now I purchased this from my local supermarket. And all you have to do is make sure that you're looking out for the Scotch beef logo. So I've got one, it's still in the packet. And if you look out for the Scotch beef logo, you'll find that in most major supermarkets, by doing so, it's guaranteed that your meat has come from an animal that has spent its entire life in Scotland and it's been processed in Scotland too. The Scotch flag alone doesn't necessarily give you that same guarantee. So always look for the Scotch beef logo. If you do have a local member of the Scotch Butchers Club nearby, we would highly recommend that you go and purchase your meat from them. The reason why is you can get lots and lots of advice from your butcher when you go and see them. You can tell them what recipe you're going to be making, you can ask them questions about the best method of cooking, they can give you lots of advice. And what I also love too is if doing something like fajitas, we're essentially cutting the meat into kind of stir-fry strips, they can do it for you. So again, half the preparation is already done for you. What I really love about this recipe is, again, looking at the ingredients, is that all the food groups are covered. We've got carbohydrates from our wraps, we've got all our fruits and vegetables, we've got a little bit of dairy, we've got our protein, which is our red meat, and we've got a little bit of fat from the oil and obviously a little bit from the avocado if you choose to use that as well. So this is a really excellent recipe to talk about a balanced meal with our pupils. Very often one of the biggest things we lack confidence in is using sharp knives. Now this is obviously a pretty big knife. You don't have to use a large knife, although very often it is the best kind. The most important thing is a sharp knife. And for this kind of recipe, perhaps you want to do the chopping or whatever requires the sharp knife cooking, because you might not have confidence in allowing your pupils to do that. You can purchase things like safety knives, but the reality is we don't use them at home. Sometimes really it's just a matter of taking some time to learn chopping skills. Now today we're not going to delve deep into that, because what I would recommend is that you go onto Education Scotland's website or to the British Nutrition Foundation's Food: A Fact of Life, and there you will find loads of information on cooking in the classroom and having that confidence with equipment like sharp knives. Teaching pupils to use the bridge or the claw methods, I really love that as well, because it brings cooking to life and they remember those types of skills and far into their education, even at high school. So it's really important to try and build your confidence yourself. You might want to do a couple of the tutorials online or view the videos to show how easy it is for you to cook in the classroom. So that's us just about ready to get cooking. But we've forgotten a few of the important things. Remember, we always need to wash our hands and be aware if you've touched raw meat. We also need to wash our hands after every occasion of that. We want to roll up our sleeves and tie back our long hair. So I'll see you in a minute. So that's me, tied my hair back, washed my hands, and we're ready to cook. Again, just take your time, but choosing such a simple and quick recipe will help you just to go through the stages and enjoy it while you're doing it too. So the first thing that we're going to do is prepare our meat. But just a quick tip beforehand, when you're using your chopping boards, a really good thing to do is to have a cold, wet paper towel or cloth underneath, just so that the chopping boards don't slide or move around. That's one of the tips I've learned from my chef colleagues. So with our beef rump steak, you'll see there is a little bit of fat marbled through. That's quite normal, but I have actually removed a little bit of fat from the edge, and that just reduces the fat content a little bit further. So choosing lean meat options where possible. Again, the advantage of using your local butcher, they can help you with that too. So what we're aiming to do is just to create small, thin stir-fry strips. As we said, the importance of a really sharp knife is really important. Again, don't feel nervous about cooking with meat. The advantages you have is to do this before the pupils come in, and that gives you that bit of time. And you can just talk about the meat that you've used. Once we've chopped that all up, we're going to pop it in a bowl and add our herbs and spices. So now our meat is ready prepared, all into stir-frying strips. We're going to add a couple of tablespoons of rapeseed oil. You can use olive oil if you wish, or just a vegetable oil. Rapeseed oil is another great Scottish product. And then we're going to add our spices, which is going to give us our lovely fajita flavour. So we've got some cumin and roughly about a teaspoonful of each. Some cumin and some coriander, ground coriander. But to be honest, just add in what you like, whatever is your favourite. Some paprika, you can add some chilli in there too. I'm going to add some cracked black pepper in there too, just to give that little bit of seasoning. So then we're just going to mix this all together. Essentially what we're doing here is marinating the beef, and you could leave this in the fridge for half an hour if you had the time, but you don't have to. Obviously in the classroom environment we don't have that sort of time, but what we're going to just do now is leave that aside. So I've cleaned my knife, so I've got a nice clean knife again. And what we're going to do now is start preparing our peppers. Now, you saw how the meat was sliced, and we're roughly going to do the same again with our peppers here. Now, this is the claw method. So as I said, we're not going to focus on that, but you would hold the pepper, keeping your fingers out of the way and your thumb at the back. And we're just going to have thin strips of pepper. And this is the best way to cook it, to cut it, is with the shiny side down, so it's easier for you to manage and for the pepper not to roll around too much. So this is thin strips, and we want to have all three colours, again, to make the dish more exciting, but also to have the increased amount of vitamin C as well. So that's us got our three colours of peppers ready. We're just going to pop these to the side, and we're going to prepare our red onion. We've already peeled and sliced in half our red onion here. And really we just want, again, thin slices. So again, using that claw method, sharp knife, and we're just having some nice thin slices of red onion. If you are choosing to use a guacamole, you might want to keep a little bit back for that. Again, depends how you like your guacamole. Now, the lettuce isn't to be added to the pan. This is just to make our wraps nice and crunchy and fresh. So we've chosen iceberg lettuce here. What's great about this is if you're not, again, confident in giving the children's knives, we can just rip it up into small pieces, and that is dead easy for any of the children to do. Or if you want, you could give them scissors, which I'm sure we're confident about. And again, they can just create nice strips of lettuce with the scissors as well. So whatever you choose to do, you can do that. But again, we want to give the pupils a little bit of confidence in using knives too. So depending on the age group, you may choose to let them use a smaller sharp knife to create our nice shredded lettuce, which is to be added to our wrap. Because we've already marinated our meat with a little bit of oil, one of the questions I always speak to the pupils about is, do we need to add some more to the pan? Essentially, no. Again, we're using a really good non-stick pan here, and the oil is already on the meat, so that should be enough for it to not stick to the pan. So what we're going to do now is just turn our pan up to heat. We want it at quite a nice high heat, so that the beef cooks really quickly. That's the advantage of cooking with a rump steak and having cut it into really small pieces, thin strips, because we want it to cook quickly on the outside, and we will see that colour change really, really quickly. So we're instantly getting that sizzle, and that's what we were looking for. And we just want to separate our pieces out so that they're all going to cook nice and quickly, and that's the advantage of having them all roughly the same size, so that everything cooks at the same time. So we can see our meat is just about prepared there. It's turned a lovely brown caramelling colour. We just want to make sure that all the sides are cooked through. It doesn't have to be brown all the way through with this kind of beef, because as long as the outer sides are cooked, then we're ensuring that any bacteria is killed off. And that's something that we can talk to the pupils about as well, about not overcooking our meat, because we want it still to be nice and tender inside. So it's just about ready there. What we're going to do is transfer this meat into another bowl, a clean bowl, because we don't want to overcook the meat while we cook our vegetables. Now, one of the things I always say to the pupils is, should we now clean our pan before we cook our vegetables? We get an interesting variety of answers, but no, we want to keep that flavour and taste and a little bit of oil that's left in there while we cook our onions and our peppers, which we want to remain a nice crunch. So these really won't need cooked for very long at all, and we just, that's how I like my fajitas. There's a nice crunch still in there, but they've still got all that lovely Mexican style flavour. Add our beef back in and make sure we're adding any flavour that we've got, any liquid there. Now this smells delicious, and that's what I love about in the classroom as well, is you have the whole school smelling the food for the rest of the day. And one final ingredient for us just to add is some lime. Now we've got half a lime here, and we're just going to squeeze that in. Now you can show the pupils they can use a fork to do this, or they can just squeeze it by hand as well. And this just again just adds, it heightens the flavour. The citruses bring out all those flavours that we added, and it just brings a nice zing to the dish as well. So that's our Scotch beef and our vegetables ready. So our main part of our fajitas. So now what we want to do is construct our fajitas, and we're going to show you how to do that. So we've opted here to use one of the bigger wraps. Now you can use the small ones as well. It just really depends on the number that you have in your classroom. There's definitely a degree of positive peer pressure when it comes to these, because sometimes you might get a pupil who says, I don't want to try that, I don't like peppers, or I don't like onions. But the reality is, if we see our friends doing it, very often we do it. So what I've just added there is just a little bit of natural yogurt. You may choose to use sour cream, that's entirely up to yourself. We're going to now just add a little bit of our shredded lettuce. Again, if I was using these at home, I'd overfill it, I know I do that, but we want to try and put everything across in the middle. That's what I talk to the kids about, because we want everyone to be able to try all of the ingredients. And now we're going to add some of our beef and vegetables. And again, a nice colour variety there. And usually I would say I can make at least 2 or 3 wraps out of the ingredients that we've had there. And again, it just depends on the number of pupils that you have. A little bit of cheddar cheese. Again, this is entirely up to yourself if you want to add that. But most will say they usually want us to add cheese. But again, you could choose alternatives if that's what you need to do as well. And just before, I made a little bit of a fresh guacamole with some avocado, some coriander, some onions, some tomatoes. You can add garlic, add a little bit of salt if you need that there. We've not added any of that in today. And again, this is just personal choice, and some might say they don't want to try it, but I think it just heightens the flavour a little bit, and a little bit of lime juice in there as well just enhances that too. So we put everything roughly across the middle, and that'll allow us, when we fold it and wrap it up, so that everyone gets a taste of everything. So now is probably the most difficult part. If you were at home, or if you have a microwave in the classroom, you could pop the wraps in the microwave for a few seconds, because that will allow the wraps just to warm up and be a little bit more malleable for you to use. We want to just fold in the edges and then bring over the top and just pull it in as we go, and just turn and pull in and just ensure everything is wrapped up there. Then we can get our knife, and if we were presenting it just for ourselves, we want to just cut it on the diagonal, and then we can pop it on our plate, and you can see all the lovely ingredients all together there for everyone to try. If I'm cooking it in the classroom, to allow everyone to have a taste, I would just again slice it up into small bite-sized pieces. Sometimes the kids say these look like little sushi rolls, which is quite funny, but just little bite-sized pieces so that everyone can try and enjoy the taste there. So that was it, as simple as that. I hope you've enjoyed our Scotch beef fajitas recipe demonstration. And again, just to give you a little bit of confidence in how you can simply cook in the kitchen. I have every confidence that you can do it. However, if you need a little bit of help or you will need a little bit of advice, then please get in touch with either ourselves at Quality Meat Scotland or our colleagues at RECT too. If perhaps a CPD session on doing something like this in your own school would be something you'd be interested in, we'd love to help as well. And what would be even better is if you're doing a food and farming topic in the classroom, to link it into this cooking, why not start from the beginning? Our colleagues at RECT will offer farmer talks or perhaps even farm visits as we're starting to get out and about more. So that might be something that you'd be interested in too. The best thing to do would be to get in touch with your local RECT coordinator. I hope you've enjoyed the session today and it does give you a little bit of confidence and has inspired you to try something new in the classroom. Again, we would be delighted to help you wherever we can and I hope you enjoy having a go.